After I refused to fund my son's luxurious wedding, he cut me off. Days later, he invited me to a peace dinner. When I arrived, 3 lawyers were waiting with legal documents. He smirked and said, "Sign them or you'll never see your granddaughter again." I quietly reached into my purse, made a call, and said. Chapter 1. The Invitation. The letter arrived on a Wednesday, elegant paper, gold-embossed edges, too formal for the kind of relationship we had now. It wasn't a wedding invitation. That had already happened months ago. The one I hadn't funded because, as I told my son, a marriage should start with love, not debt. This one was smaller. A dinner invite. A peace dinner, he called it. After nearly 6 months of silence, those 2 words, peace dinner, made my chest ache with a mixture of hope and dread. Maybe he'd finally realized how cruel it was to cut me off after all I'd done for him. Maybe he wanted to make things right. Maybe. That night, I stood outside the restaurant, the kind that served water in glass bottles and charged for valet parking. Inside, I saw him immediately, Evan, my son, dressed in an expensive tailored suit I didn't recognize, sitting next to his wife, Jenna. Her phone was on the table, screen facing down, a sign she didn't plan to stay long. When I walked in, he stood, hugged me briefly, and smiled a politician's smile. "Mom," he said smoothly, "you look, well." I nodded, "So do you." I didn't add, for someone who forgot where he came from. The waiter brought wine, they made small talk. Then Evan cleared his throat. "Mom, I wanted to talk about the future. Jenna and I have been reorganizing things. We want to make sure family matters are handled properly." The words felt rehearsed, and then I noticed them, 3 men in dark suits sitting at the next table. Briefcases, tablets, lawyers. My heart sank. "What is this?" I asked quietly. Evan exhaled, "It's just paperwork, nothing bad. We just want things to be official, custody, finances, inheritance." Jenna added with a smirk, "and access boundaries. You tend to insert yourself into our lives." I blinked. I inserted myself. "I raised you, Evan. I worked 2 jobs to pay for your college. I kept the house running when your father left." He cut me off, voice cold, "And now, you're going to sign, or you'll never see your granddaughter again." The words hit like ice water, not shouted, just calmly delivered, like a business threat. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. I looked between them, my son, my daughter-in-law, their 3 smug lawyers, and something inside me went completely still. Then, slowly, I reached into my purse. Evan flinched, probably expecting a pen or maybe a meltdown. Instead I pulled out my phone, and said softly, "It's time." Then I pressed a single button. The reaction was immediate. Evan's lawyer frowned, checking his tablet. Jenna's phone buzzed with notifications, then another, then another. She picked it up, confusion flickering to panic. "Wait, our accounts, Evan, something's wrong, the transfers." He looked at me, eyes narrowing. "Mom, what did you do?" I simply smiled, calm and composed. "Oh, don't worry, sweetheart," I said, "you'll understand soon enough, but since we're handling things officially now," I pushed the untouched wine glass toward him, "consider this my official goodbye." Then I stood, walked out, and left them to realize what it feels like when control changes hands. Chapter 2. The Strings Attached. I didn't go home that night. I went somewhere quieter, somewhere mine, a small lake house 2 hours outside the city, modest from the outside, but every inch of it paid for with patience and foresight. It wasn't much, until you realized it was the one place my son didn't know existed. I poured myself a cup of tea and opened my laptop. One notification after another blinked on my screen, alerts from my accountant, my lawyer, my estate manager. Everything was moving exactly as planned. The hidden hand. Years ago, before Evan's arrogance bloomed into full-grown greed, I had started restructuring my finances. After watching him spend recklessly and depend on my name, I'd quietly transferred all my major assets, savings, property titles, stocks, into a family trust. But not his family, mine. The trust had one special clause: if any beneficiary attempts coercion, fraud, or manipulation toward the grantor, that's me. Their privileges are revoked immediately and permanently, and that's what my call had activated. My lawyer, Margaret, was already at her office that night. She didn't need instructions. She knew that one call meant the trust protection protocol had been triggered. By the time I finished my tea, Evan's access to every joint account, investment fund, and property-related asset had been locked. Every transaction, frozen. Every inheritance he'd bragged about, gone. The morning after. At 7:12 a.m., my phone rang. Evan. I let it ring twice before answering. Mom, what did you do? The accounts, the transfers, Jenna's Carly's got cancelled, the mortgage apps declined, even my firm's expense card. You said you wanted to handle things officially, I replied calmly. So I did. He went silent. I could hear him breathing hard on the other end, like a man realizing the ground beneath him wasn't ground at all. Mom, this isn't funny. Neither was threatening me over your daughter. A pause, then quietly, you can't just take everything back. I didn't take anything, I said softly. You just lost what you never owned. And I ended the call. The fallout. By noon, the storm had begun. My lawyer sent me a short email. All legal assets under your name are secure. Evan's access terminated. His wife's name was linked to one joint account, now under review for potential misuse. Translation. Jenna was about to get a taste of humility too. Within 48 hours, she was calling me, not to apologize, but to beg. Please, Mrs. Morales, you can't just ruin our lives like this. We have a wedding loan, a new car, the mortgage. Jenna, I said, you two made it clear I was no longer family, so tell me. What business does a stranger have funding your luxury? She went quiet. Then started crying. Please, we were just angry. Evan didn't mean it. He just wants you to love him again. He doesn't need my love, I said coldly. He needs a conscience. And I hung up. The news. 2 days later, word spread among the extended family. Evan's lavish image, the house, the car, the social media posts flaunting self-made success, all came crumbling down. My cousin called me, half shocked, half gloating. You hear about Evan? His firm put him on leave after a client lawsuit. They say his personal accounts are under audit. I didn't gloat. I just whispered, he'll learn. The turning point. That night, alone at the lake house, I looked at an old photograph, Evan as a little boy, missing his 2 front teeth, holding a cardboard sign that said, World's Best Mom. I felt the ache return, not anger this time, but grief. Because revenge wasn't the plan. Lesson was, he needed to understand that money doesn't buy loyalty, and betrayal always has a cost, not just financial, but spiritual. I closed my eyes, whispered a prayer, and said to myself, let him break, just enough to rebuild. Chapter 3. The collapse. Evan always measured worth in numbers, salary, bonus, square footage. He never understood that the real currency in life was trust. By the end of that week, he was bankrupt in both. The public fall I found out through a colleague of his. Westbridge Financial had launched a compliance review after discovering multiple conflicts of interest, specifically, his use of company funds to secure personal loans and investments. Ironically, those investments were the same accounts I had frozen. Without my backing, his entire web of borrowed credibility unraveled in days. He wasn't fired immediately, no, they suspended him pending investigation, which in corporate language means your career is over, but we're not going to say it yet. He had built his reputation on image, the successful son of a respected philanthropist. Now that foundation was gone. The calls from clients stopped, the invitations dried up. Even Jenna stopped tagging him in their photos. The confrontation. 3 days later, there was a knock on my door. When I opened it, Evan stood there, unshaven, hollow-eyed, still wearing the same suit from our peace dinner. His voice cracked before he could finish the first sentence. Mom, I'm sorry. I said nothing. He looked down at his hands, twisting them nervously like a child who'd broken something fragile. You were right, he whispered. About everything, the house, the car, the wedding, it's all gone. Jenna left, said she can't handle being with a man who can't provide. I raised an eyebrow. Did she mean can't provide or can't control? He gave a faint, humorless laugh. Probably both. The breaking point. He sat at my kitchen table, the same one I used to serve pancakes on Sunday mornings when he was little. Mom, he said, voice trembling, how did it come to this? I thought I was doing what was best for everyone. I leaned back in my chair. No, Evan. You did what was best for your ego. And you surrounded yourself with people who told you that love was a transaction. He wiped his eyes. I don't even know where to start fixing it. By remembering who you were before money became your mirror, I said quietly, you weren't born entitled. You became it. He stared at me, silent, absorbing every word like a man realizing just how far he'd fallen. The turn. For the first time he didn't argue, didn't justify, didn't project. He just nodded. You don't have to forgive me. I need you to know I see it now. All of it. Forgiveness isn't a gift, Evan, I said. It's proof you've changed, and I'll wait to see that before I offer mine. He nodded again, standing slowly. You won't have to wait long. When he left, I didn't stop him. Not out of anger, but because this time he needed to walk that road alone. The consequences. A week later I received an email from my lawyer. Daniel Morales has voluntarily withdrawn his appeal regarding the family trust and signed a compliance acknowledgement. He's also registered for financial ethics training. It was the first sign of humility I'd seen from my son in years, and somehow it was enough to make me smile. The reflection. That night, as rain tapped softly against the window, I looked through old photographs. Birthdays, graduations, family dinners. For the first time, I didn't feel bitterness. Just a quiet truth. He had to lose everything to learn what mattered. Sometimes love means letting someone fall. Not to punish them, but to teach them how to stand again. Chapter 4. The Reckoning. 3 months passed. The world didn't forgive Evan overnight, but it didn't destroy him either. He'd taken a job at a local community bank. Modest pay, modest hours, but honest work. When I visited him one afternoon, he was helping a young couple apply for their first mortgage. He looked calm, humbled, almost content. He'd lost the big house, but he'd gained something far rarer. Perspective. For the first time, I thought, maybe he'll be okay. The knock on the door. That evening, I was making dinner when the doorbell rang. When I opened it, I froze. Jenna stood there. Her once perfect hair was frizzy from the wind, her makeup smudged, and behind her, 2 familiar faces. Her parents. The same people who once laughed when Evan said he was cutting me off, saying it was about time he learned independence. Now they looked desperate. Mrs. Morales, Jenna said, clutching her purse like a lifeline. Please, we need to talk. I didn't answer right away. Then I stepped aside. Come in. The fall of the proud. They sat at my dining table, the same table where Evan once signed his scholarship papers all those years ago. Her father spoke first, his voice brittle. It's complicated. We made some bad investments. The IRS seized our business accounts. We're being audited. We might lose the house. Jenna's voice cracked. We thought we had everything under control. I don't know what to do. I folded my hands. You could start by apologizing. She hesitated, then nodded. I'm sorry. For everything. For the way I treated you. For turning Evan against you. I thought money made us powerful. It just made us blind. For a moment, I said nothing. Then I looked toward the door. He's in the kitchen. Evan stepped out, wiping his hands on a dish towel. When he saw them, his expression didn't harden. It softened. Not with pity. With clarity. The choice. Jenna stood. Evan, I shouldn't even ask this, but can you help us, just for now? Alone. Anything. He looked at me, as if asking for permission. I didn't speak. This was his reckoning. After a long silence, he said, You taught me that love isn't a transaction. But I'll still help you. Not because you deserve it, but because my daughter deserves to see what grace looks like. He handed her an envelope. Enough to keep you afloat for a few months. Nothing more. Jenna started crying. Her father tried to speak, but no words came out. And for the first time, I saw my son as a man. Not a boy chasing power, but someone who'd finally found dignity. The lesson returns. After they left, we stood in the quiet kitchen. He sighed. You were right, Mom. Revenge fades. But doing what's right, that lasts. I smiled faintly. Revenge teaches others. Redemption teaches you. He nodded, then pulled me into a hug. I don't know if I'll ever make up for what I did. You already are, I whispered. Every time you choose better than before. The turning of seasons. By spring, he'd rebuilt enough to stand on his own again. Not rich, not powerful, but grounded. He started a mentorship program for young financial advisors, teaching ethics and responsibility. He even named it after his late father, the man who taught us both that pride always has a price. And when I saw him teaching those kids, I realized something beautiful. Revenge had simply been the doorway. The real story was what came after. Final chapter, the legacy. It's strange how quiet redemption sounds. No applause, no headlines, just the steady rhythm of a life rebuilt. A year had passed since that dinner, the night Evan tried to threaten me into submission and learned what true power looks like. Now he visited every Sunday. Not for money or forgiveness, but for family. He'd bring Evie, my granddaughter, with a bouquet of wildflowers from the park. She'd run up the porch steps, her little hands full of daisies. "These are for you, Nana. Daddy says you're the strongest woman in the world." And every time, my throat would tighten because once her father believed strength meant control. Now he knew it meant restraint. The full circle. One afternoon, we were sitting on the porch swing. The air smelled of rain and lilacs. Evan looked out at the lake. "You know, Mom," he said softly, "when I lost everything, I thought you destroyed me." He smiled faintly. "Now I realize you saved me. You took away everything fake so I could rebuild something real." I didn't reply. I just reached over and took his hand, the same hand that once signed papers meant to erase me from his life. "Sometimes," I said quietly, "you have to lose what blinds you to finally see." The call later that week, I got a call from Jenna. Her voice was calm, humble. "I just wanted to thank you for helping us when you didn't have to." "Evan's right. You're stronger than all of us." I said only this. Strength doesn't come from what you hold on to. It comes from what you can let go of. When I hung up, I felt something inside me settle. Not pride, not triumph. Peace. The reflection. That night I sat by the window and watched the light from the street lamp shimmer on the water. For the first time in years, there was no bitterness left in me. I thought of my son, the boy who once held my hand in grocery lines, who used to bring me paper flowers on Mother's Day, who got lost chasing approval and found his way back through humility. And I realized revenge had never been the destination. It was only the road that led us both back home. The final lesson. I wrote something down in my journal before bed. Power without compassion destroys. Compassion without boundaries breaks. But justice, true justice, lies in balance. The strength to punish and the grace to forgive. Then I closed the book and smiled because for once, the world felt right again. Epilogue, the quiet revenge. Some victories don't come with applause. They come in silence, in peace, in finally being able to breathe again. For years, I thought justice meant striking back. But now I know it's about standing so still your enemies can only destroy themselves by moving against you. My son lost everything he thought he wanted. The house, the image, the pride. And in that loss, he found the only thing that ever truly mattered, character. He learned that real strength isn't loud or cruel. It's quiet, it's calm. It's the ability to walk away knowing the truth will finish what anger never could. As for me, I didn't win by punishing him. I won by staying true to who I was, even when he forgot who he was. Because revenge isn't about hurting back. It's about teaching without ever raising your voice. Now, when my granddaughter runs into my arms, I see the legacy I wanted all along. Not wealth, not obedience, but integrity passed down through love and pain. And that, in the end, is the only inheritance that matters. Was this revenge perfectly justified? Or should the storm have raged harder? Drop your verdict below. I read every single one. Hit like if you crave justice and share this story with someone who needs its fire.